Right now, I was going to say right now, I feel pretty content. We're just writing at the moment, so I feel quite good right now. Looking back at the album, Pride definitely is probably the biggest emotion I think that comes across just because it's been so long and there's been so much happen from starting to write it to now, not just with us, but in the world. I think to finally get it finished and done, to a level that we're pleased with and excited about, it's a big sense of pride. It's like it's our baby that we've been nurturing for years. So yeah, pride I'd go with definitely. I don't think arguing was a a huge bearing on this album at all. I think we argue less about musical sort of elements to the band and more just, well, who's driving, who's getting the beers in, things like that. I think we bicker about little things like that, not necessarily music. But we haven't argued about music in years. It all seems to have gelled and clicked um, really well for producing this album. But yeah, I think it's more sort of day to day things that we tend to argue about more. But
Yeah.
you get that. You've been friends with somebody for 30 years. Um, it's just going to happen, isn't it? So it was kind of there in sort of embryonic form when we took it to the studio. Um, but I mean, obviously, a musician of his quality and his talents is going to have, a massive say. But he's very like humble and sweet. He'd come up with like a brilliant idea, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm not sure it's any good," and I'd be like, "James, that's brilliant. Yeah, we'll go with that." Um, so how did that came about? So they recorded rituals at the studio and with the producer who we record with. I think we just kind of got linked up that way. On the sort of the first day, it was very surreal working with him because obviously I've been a Havana fan for years. Um, but then to write with him, when he was like showing vocal parts or vocal ideas, it was obviously the deaf Havana guy, singing at me, and I'm like, yeah, trying not to fanboy. We've we've written a couple more with him, and we're scheduled to write with him again in the coming months. So yeah, he's just a really good friend now and a brilliant guy, brilliant musician, and he kind of got what we were doing, got what we were about, and yeah, helped. Well, got on board and helped us with it. Yeah. So it was written in I think the second of the lockdowns, like lyrically. Um, with a really bad one. Like the first one was kind of novel and it was kind of fun and it was sort of springtime and it was nice. But the winter one, that was awful. And I think we were all just fed up by that point. And so the phrase dream, if only I could dream in a little less color, it literally came from, so I dream like very vividly. So sometimes, when you wake up, like you kind of don't really, for a split second, I don't know what was real and what wasn't until I think, oh, you're dreaming, relax. But where it came from, that whole idea, if only I could dream in a little less color, was like in my dreams, because they're so vivid, I like try to interact with them and I always wake myself up. And then I just kind of wrapped it up with a whole bit of all like, dreaming, daydreaming, trying to get out of this like dark period that we were in. And it all just sort of like meshed and melded together. But the whole concept of the song, or like the hook point, was literally from me dreaming too vividly, apparently. Gosh, well, number one, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I don't know. I think just the main one for us is like anyone who's kind of stuck by us or been with us from the beginning or the early years, it would be it would mean the world to us if it meant the world to them. If they came back and said, "Oh, we love this," we really, really get on board with what you're doing and it speaks to us. I think that would definitely resonate with us because they've stuck with us, they've been waiting with us. And obviously anybody new listening to it or whatever, hopefully we'd like to do the same thing. But the fan base that we sort of accumulated all over these years have been waiting for us. Like we really hope that they buy into what we're doing and it speaks to them. It's my dream for it. for the band, it's always been the same. I mean, this is something you want to do for a living. I wish it would pay the bills. I wish it would, pay my mortgage. Um, I think any musician, be it amateur or professional, that's the goal. Um, it's it's something that 1 in a million people get to do, and I think to have that as your livelihood would be, yeah, would be literally a dream come true. God, wow, great question. So I can't speak for anybody else, and I always make this joke on stage that the album is just 14 songs about me. But I like to think I'm talking about issues, like you say, that a lot of everybody goes through. And with me, it's almost like I'm still a kid. I don't feel like an adult. I feel like that child who is like desperate for validation, desperate for a pat on the back, that kind of thing. I need somebody to tell me I'm doing all right or I'm okay. And I feel like a lot of people are like that. Um, so that's definitely the kind of um not ethos to the album, but definitely some of the overriding themes of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's me, and almost like an inferiority complex. Like I'm not good enough. I'm never good enough. I need you to tell me I'm good enough. That kind of thing. And another good thing about like I don't know self-loathing. I think we all can see stuff in ourselves that we want to change or need to change, but don't necessarily do it. And again, that's another big theme that kind of runs throughout the album is like, well, we'll do something about it. Whereas I tend not to. I tend to just write a 4 minute pop song about it. So um, yeah, and that's kind of the irony that's sort of built into some of the songs. So yeah, those two things, I think, yeah, the inner child and yeah, that kind of unwillingness or inability to change, which is hard for people, very hard for people. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of stuff like that. I think it's almost like it says the obvious, but you need to hear it. You need someone to tell you, and you think, "Well, I could have just thought of that." And it just seems to work better if it's kind of like laid out in front of you. With things like that, I think anyone can benefit from that, even if it's only slightly. If there's anything you can consume to benefit, your mental well-being or your life just in general, yeah, I'd highly encourage, yeah, people to do that. Certainly helping it, absolutely. Um, yes, stand on my own 2 feet. I think I'm very heavily reliant on other people. I'm very blessed with, loving friends and family, but it's got to get to a point where, well, got to do this on my own. And again, that's another theme that runs through a couple of the songs on the album. So I think that's probably the main one for me. Um, if that's not saying too much. I think we've got very, I mean, obviously been playing together for years. We've got very good at sort of reading each other. Um, in terms of, I guess just personally day to day and musically, if someone's playing that, the other person will, what, it needs this, or what about this? And I think we've got very good at like we call it drilling down to the gold. So you have to kind of get rid of the bad stuff. Oh, that's a terrible idea. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. To land on the gold. So I think we've got very good at kind of just like encouraging each other. No, that's fine. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Um, and yeah, songwriting these days just seems to be a dream. Like it's just a lot easier, and it just seems to just click, which is great. With obviously we've been friends a long time, playing together a long time. But having got to that place, it's yeah, it's brilliant. Um, the one thing that immediately springs to mind is meeting James Veck-Gilodi de Havana. You know, he's now a wonderful friend, and we would never have met him if you know, we hadn't been writing this record. Um, Writing a record is very cathartic. You know, getting all your thoughts down and out into music is very cathartic, very helpful. Um, so that's been a great experience for me, I guess, as the lyricist. And now obviously we're starting to play those songs live. Um, it's almost like getting stuff off your chest. What else? I guess just the accomplishment, the achievement, you know, what we've done and we've put together over this time. I was talking about pride at the beginning and being very proud of it. Um, it's just so it's almost surreal having this thing to look back on and be like, we made that together, you know, us silly friends being idiots together. You know, we created this thing, and though people are going to listen to it and it's going to be there forever, you know, it's a very surreal concept to try and digest, and but one that I love. So yeah, probably those three things. Um, you know, share the stage with, you know, it's a lot of bands that we've been fans with for a long time. To then play with them is is an incredible feeling. And again, surreal. Just that whole thing. This whole thing is kind of a surreal journey for us. You know, one that we don't want to jump off of. So yeah, I think sharing the stage with you know, we played with Enter Shikari last year. That's crazy. Like, we've been friends with them for years. You know, all time low. Bowling for Soup. I remember being a kid listening to them, and you know, they took us out on tour. Motion City soundtrack. It's just these things are like, you know, how's this happening to us? Um, you know, why? I mean, we must do, you know, be doing okay to be lucky enough to tour with these guys. But yeah, it's a very surreal thing that's hard to explain when you do end up sharing a bill with bands like that, bands that you've been fans of. Again, this is kind of stems from like jokes that I make on stage. I'm almost like, don't be like me. I'm like, sort yourself out, you know, like, if anything, you know, this is all we are, is like a cautionary tale of how perhaps not to behave, or you know, um, get yourself out of that. I guess those dark places that you can be in. Obviously, I say that with a pinch of salt, but it's more like, well, don't write a song about it. Do something about it. You know, it's so good for me that I've got songwriting to get that all out. But yeah, my advice or my inspiration would be, yeah, don't be like me. And I say that every night when we play. But yeah, with a pinch of salt, you can be like me a little bit. I mean, they've all, you know, got great careers, wonderful people, wonderful families. Got married. Um, you know, I was best man at one of their weddings, groomsman at the other, sang at somebody else's wedding. You know, these are all like lovely things to witness and be a part of. You know, personally, sort of outside of any sort of musical connection that we have, but to kind of share that and then share these things with each other. Uh, yeah, very inspiring. You know, I'm like, go on, lads, love it. Say, oh God, dreaming a little less color. Runaway is very like defiant. Uh, the whole song's about being a coward, and it's like, if you could sort of sit yourself down or talk to yourself in the mirror, it's everything I could say to myself to sort myself out. Yeah, so that song's all about being a coward, and like, you know, what could you say to yourself if you could sit yourself down and slap yourself out of it? I think that can be quite, it's quite uplifting, albeit, you know, a bit of a dark song. So that's what we do. We discovered this the other day. We've got quite like a dark lyrical content, but wrapped up in a nice, shiny pop rock song. And I think they sort of they juxtapose quite well. Middle England's quite inspiring, you know, as a young Englishman. That's kind of, pretty much like, well, England's a bit shit, but it's produced all the people that I know and love, so it can't be that bad. Um, we've got our problems, so that's a good one for me. Flaws, I think that speaks for itself. That's just sort of airing all your dirty laundry. And then maybe this is all we are. So the final track on the album and the namesake of the album, um, that's just kind of like a real sort of call to arms, bringing us all together, um, kind of track. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think there's something in there in every song for everyone. So my whole life, so we've done so the first album we recorded, all about anxiety, literally rules my life. Still does to this day. And it was just like, if only you could like give yourself, I don't know, a bit of tough love or talking to it to just get that out of you. I mean, obviously life's not that easy. But it was quite fun and quite cool to sort of conceptualize that into a song. And then yeah, that's Runaway pretty much. Not really. I get excited, and it's also a case of don't be shit. Make sure you do this well. I get a bit anxious about my voice sometimes, but I take care of it. I tend not to drink on tour, go to bed early. So the only kind of anxiety is probably like, is my voice going to be okay? Um, but it's a buzz, it's excitement. It's where I want to be. So it's I guess the logistics of it are what make you anxious. Like, is the equipment going to work? Are we going to be good? Are we going to go? Are we going to be all right? But the actual show itself, it's give me it, let's go. I remember going on tour a few years ago when we went on with tour with Bowling for Soup, and it was a bus tour, which is great. So obviously you jump off the stage, get on the bus, and you drive to the next venue, and you wake up in the next venue. Obviously on the bus it was great, everyone's drinking, partying, and having a good time. But all I could think about, I didn't care about that. I was like, I just wanted to get me on stage. I was like, well, I've got 23 hours till the next show. I'm like, come on, come on, come on, come on, get me on stage. And I remember being an absolute weirdo for 2 weeks because all I could think about was just the next show. And everyone else is like having a good time. And like my brain was just on stage. Which is great, I guess, because it's something you love to do. But I wish I could have enjoyed it a bit more. Being late, I cannot be late. Sound check, loading, set time. Oh God, that probably gets me anxious. I'm like, we cannot go a minute over, right? Yeah, so I feel you on that one, big time. I guess there was points where I used to care so much what other people thought of me. Like it was the only thing that meant anything to me. What do you think of me? Um, what can I do to make you think, even if it kind of like went against who I was a person, I was like, what can I do to make you think better of me? That's kind of gone now. It's kind of like, well, this is who I am now. If we don't click, we don't gel, you don't like me, that's fine. You don't have to hang out with me. I think that might be in reference to that. And it might just be something that comes with age. You're so, I guess when you're 19, you're so desperate for everyone to be your friend, everyone to like you. But as you get older, it's kind of like, well, if I'm not for you, then that's fair enough. Not a problem. At the time we wrote that, I think I was spending a lot of time out of the UK, just various trips and whatnot. And it was almost kind of got me thinking, I don't know, like the grass is always greener. Like people just do things. It's so much better here than it is, um, at home. And I've always wanted to leave. I've always wanted to live elsewhere. And that kind of whole song is built around, well, everybody that I love most in the world is here. So if I was to just go live somewhere else with palm trees, oh yeah, it'd be lovely and sunshine. But I was like, my boys, my family, my nephew, my sister, they're all here. So I think that kind of lyric sort of relates to that. Is like, well, maybe the grass isn't greener because you've got all these wonderful people in your life here, um, albeit a bit of a flawed country, but you've got all these wonderful people around you. So oh, don't bottle it up and don't feel bad about texting someone like, oh, can we go for a pint? Can we go for a walk? Can you come over? Don't ever feel bad about that. That's and we shouldn't be you're not going to inconvenience somebody if you're I need you for 5 minutes for a chat. um I'd rather chat to you for 5 minutes than the worst case scenario happen to you. That would be my advice would be reach out, like text somebody, voice note them, wherever it takes to get the connection you need or what's going to help you. Yeah, absolutely, reach out. That song is literally about daydreaming. So if we go back to the anxiety element, you know how I don't know, I used to like spiral. So I'd latch onto something, I'd spiral, and it'd become the worst thing ever, and I'd be thinking about it for hours. We never do that with the positive. We never do that with daydreaming. Um, so that song is about that. Is about just let yourself, if you're ever going to daydream or like wishful thinking, just ride with it, run with it. Let yourself go with it. That was kind of like the thought process behind that song. I'm so sorry, I can't remember the question. Yeah, definitely. There's loads of good things happening and good people in my life, but obviously there's things that happen that aren't the best that we all go through. But I think these days it's all about, I guess, how you deal with it, and who you've got to help you deal with it. But yeah, I think I'm just about happy with content with reality. Let's go with that.